Welcome. Today we are taking a look at some mostly 19th century Chinese porcelain, all late Qing Dynasty plates. Some are chargers, some are smaller. Some nice items that have sold recently. Here we're first taking a look at this precious objects charger. It's about 13 inches, which is a great size. Looks to be late, probably right around the turn of the century, 1880 to maybe 1910. Quite a nice thing, a good size to it. You can kind of get a sense from the backside, what other, how the size of other plates that are have this base. 13 inches, so a little bit over a foot in diameter. So let's go to the front. We've got some really nice polychrome enamel working here in quite a few different colors, and we've got some good edge work. You'll notice the sort of red line that is kind of typical to the period going around the edges. And this plate looks like it was used. You have some signs of wear over here where things were deposited over time. But overall in pretty good shape. The enamel's in good condition. We've got some okay painting here. And the precious objects pattern is always quite desirable. It needs to get the little bat up at the top. Nice piece. Good pictures too. And let's see, we've got $470 hammer price. Pretty good price. Good for the buyer and the seller there. So let's move on. We have second item listed as a large 19th century Qing Dynasty charger and nothing more. Always like to see these short titles doing well on eBay. It's something that is a little bit more of a recent change in the last couple years. But let's take a look at this. So we've got a little right off the bat, we notice a little bit of damage up top, so that's going to be hurting the value just a bit. And what a nice thing this probably is. We have 14 3/4 inches wide, so bigger than the last charger, and really nice work here around the edges, kind of getting sort of almost a Japanese patterning going with some Chinese flower breaks. And we have the interior with what is really, I think, really interesting scene and rather well painted. We've got some, it looks like, it's likely a court scene, of course. But these figures are well done, and it's nice to see such great variation in the way that the figures are represented size-wise. It's kind of interesting. Certainly a lot to look at in this Chinese blue and white charger. Yeah. I mean, and to get the sort of fine detail on the robes, I would be interested to know more of this piece. Let's take a look at the back, looking kind of similar to the other plate we were just looking at. Pretty much what you would expect from a late 19th century charger. This one might be a little bit earlier, probably not turn of the century, but a very nice piece. Very nice piece. 44 bids, $776. Yeah, you can only wonder where this would go without this chip. And bravo to the seller for featuring it so well. Is it a chip or is it an imperfection? Do they have it listed? Nicked to the edge in the making. So we are claiming this is original. And it could be, it does look like the glaze is over that. Look at the bubbles. I'm not going to talk about bubbles. We've got another nice item here. Chinese Familial Rose Daogong Qing Dynasty plate. Not quite a charger. 9.5 inches. So kind of just your standard plate. Really nice design. Looks like we've got some peaches in the center and then sort of a 4-character stylization with 4 symmetrical flowers. Nicely painted, well, well within the lines. We might note for some of sometimes these types of plates, and actually I'll just show the example later. I've got one pulled up. Sometimes these get sloppy, and this is really nice to go around and see how cleanly this was painted. It gives you a good encouragement for the authenticity of this item. This is rather well painted in my opinion. Very nice. Good photos too. Bravo to the seller. And take a look at the back. It does look to be a bit of a nicer piece, given this base. Looks like a little bit of a finer porcelain, in my opinion. And 20 bids to $493 is not a bad result at all. So, good job to the seller and the buyer there. Nice piece. Nice piece to add to a collection. So here we get getting into some of the interesting pieces that I pulled. So this has there's some good and some bad about this. I think it's still a nice piece, and I think someone got a good deal on this, and the seller was probably happy with what the offer they accepted. The first thing I noticed about this is, while we have some well proportioned and painted figures, I'm really struggling to know what's going on with this chair. The chair is, I'm not sure. The chair is very poorly painted, and I wonder if more detail has faded off with time. That would have made this look better. But the people are quite well painted, and it's interesting to see. I'm not an expert in textiles or dress, but I would guess that there is some significance to how this shorter character here is dressed, and it might make this actually quite an interesting plate, despite this strange chair. And we have here what looks like to be a mid to late 19th century base. An odd thing. Here we have one that I thought was also quite interesting. We have a giant Qing Dynasty charger, $1,213 being the sale price, 19 inches in diameter. So we are getting up there, a little bit shy of 2 feet, and this thing is cool. So I would think this is very in style in the late 19th century. Probably, you can imagine this almost being, I would almost guess this was a decorative piece then, or maybe a little bit later to be sold export. And it's just wonderful working here. I need to just go through the pictures to get a really good sense of how really extravagantly painted this piece is, and to have all of the different sort of color patterns that you would get in Chinese porcelain represented in this sort of strange rainbow assortment is very, very cool. And of course here, earlier we were noting you get the similar red edge line here. But I get the sense that this was repaired at one point. I get the sense that this is almost like a style maker. For this type of item. Of course, I always could be wrong about a lot of things, but this is really kind of interesting to me, and just a great polychrome fill. Quite a nice piece. And I'm not surprised, $1,200. Well done. Bravo to all. So our last two items were things that I pulled because there's some interesting things that I have to say about these. This So first, this is a great contrast here. This is a more everyday Qing Dynasty wear than we were looking at here. What I was remarking as very cleanly painted floral scenes for this Daogong plate. Um, and here we have, what I was saying, a little bit more sloppy, not as neatly done. And it's not that this one is necessarily a fake or a reproduction. It's actually that this is a bit more of an everyday wear. And you'll note here they even have them stacked and just ready to use. And you see that these have a little bit more. Well, one of them looked like it was very. Yeah, more imperfections. Here we go. This one certainly looks like it's had a little bit more use. But so the thing about these is that it's good to know is that, yeah, they, of course, actually, they are authentic to the period. And if you come across some of these, and they're a good price. I mean, 6 for, we probably got a deal accepted for 150, 120 in that range. These are good plates to use. I mean, I certainly wouldn't put them in the microwave, but I have a set of these that I actually just use. They're great, and I would encourage you, if you come across these, they're authentic, and usually you can find them in a pair. Don't be afraid to just use them. There's a lot of people out there that are still using these, and they're great pieces. So here we have the last piece that I pulled. I thought this one was rather interesting. The base certainly looks right to me for the late 19th century Qing Dynasty here. You get that kind of... It's hard to describe how this feels, but you can feel it with your finger. And there's a little bit of a fold under on this rim in the way that it was fired. 19 bids, $127. I think that's a great price for this piece. I would like to know what does it measure to. I would assume we're looking at about a 9-inch plate, given the scene. And I think this is a great scene. I don't know. I think people were afraid of something about this plate, and I'm not sure what that is because I really rather like the base. And the floral rim looks nice. This is a very interesting scene. I would be curious to know who is this wildly dressed figure. I don't know off the top of my head. And we have really nice, really well done work inside of this house. I would say this is the sort of the steal of the auctions. And let's just check the seller really quick. Gemini Antiques have a white and gray jade boy pendant. Let's see what else they sold. Did we get a lot of nice things through here recently? A lot of things. This does look like some nice things passed through here. Is a seller that I should pay some attention to. Some interesting things. Interesting things indeed. Well, that is going to be it for today's show, folks. Of course, if you like Chinese antiques, if you like what we're doing here, make sure to give us the like and hit the subscribe button. We really appreciate that, and it really helps the channel out. So, thanks for dropping by, and hope you have a great rest of your day.